Hey, welcome back to Leafy Life. I'm Susie and this channel is my space to share my love of houseplants.
In this house, I am tending to leafy life, reaching green and bending toward the light. Leafy life, this is my leafy life.
Today is all about parrot plants and it's very exciting because they are fabulous plants, and I've got lots to show you about the ones that I'm about to work with, repotting and taking propagations and putting on propagations. So I'm going to talk you through all of that, show you as I go along and share with you all the facts and experience I have of them, and hopefully just share with you what fabulous plants they are to keep and grow. So yeah, let's crack on. So I've gathered all the parrot plants from around the house. I have three main plants, one of which is mine, one of which is my son's, and one of which is my daughter's. So theirs lives in their room the whole time normally, and mine has kind of moved around the house a bit. It's currently living in the lounge, but I've had it out of there for a bit because I was dealing with thrips, so I was keeping it kind of away from some of the plants in the lounge. And it has moved around a fair bit. It seems fine with that. Aesthetically, it needed to change a little bit, and space for other plants, it needed to move a little bit. So it has seemed fine with moving. So I'm going to talk to you about kind of what their needs are and how I discovered them and what I've learned about them so far. I came across them first of all in a local garden centre. I think it might be nearly a year ago. It might not be quite that long, but it's lots of months. So I've been living with them for a while and had fun propagating them and looking after them and seeing them grow a lot. I was drawn to them because of their flowers. These ones don't have flowers on, but they do normally flower all year round, or pretty much all year round. They can flower all year round, but I think because of the thrips and things like that, they've not been putting out flowers just lately. But until that point, they'd all been in flower continuously ever since I had them. And one of the cuttings that I took from one of the plants, kind of in the early days, I potted that up and took that to the plant swap, and I know that was then it was an established plant, and I know it's carried on growing because the person who took it from me has kept me updated and showed me how much it had grown and that it had started flowering. So that was a little cutting, and yeah, it was really fun when that started flowering for her. So I'll pop in a photo of mine when it was in flower. I've enjoyed photographing the flowers because they're just really funky and bright and fun. They do look very parroty. I think it's open to interpretation which part looks like, how it looks like a parrot. Some people think it looks like an entire little parrot body. Some people think it looks like a beak of something. So it's really up to you, I guess. But yeah, they're a fabulous bright colour and unusual shape. They're very fleshy, and when the light shines through them, they're really glowy. Here's a close-up of the beautiful leaves. They are really dark green and glossy and veined, and with these kind of deep bumpy bits, and then at the edges they are very scalloped and have a kind of hair in between each scallop, and then at the back of the leaf there are two crystally blobs which continue along the stem of the leaf, and there are a lot more of them as you get closer to the main trunk of the plant, and they are to protect the plant from predators. These crystals are filled with oxalic acid, and they're actually solid. They look like water droplets hanging down, but they are solid. I took one off and felt it in my fingers, and it's really solid, like a big grain of sugar. And I held that and felt it, and then I ground it down using the back of a spoon on some paper, and it took some effort to kind of crush it down, so it's very hard. And yeah, it's not nice in the digestive system of an animal or a human. So do keep them away from your children if you think that they're likely to sort of pick up the flowers or the stems or play with these little blobs. They would not be safe. They can make you lose your sense of taste for a couple of days. They can make your mouth bleed and just really upset your stomach, so it's really not worth it. Apparently cats can, they know not to partake of this plant or anything like this, including rhubarb, so that's good for them. I had wondered what they were for a while, and I finally got around to Googling around it, and now it's nice to know what they're there for. So, clever plant. I've just noticed some little baby buds, which will be fun. I'll try and update this for you later when they do come out all red and yellow. But yeah, you can see compared to my finger how tiny they are. So I think there's a couple in there, just nestled in that little crown between the branches. This is right at the top of my own plant. There's new growth with the leaves just there. You can get the flowers down all the way down the actual stem, so not just attached to the leaf point, but just on the woody stem as well, which is fun. The leaves actually have, from this angle, you can see much better, like little. They're like hair. Well, there are hairs. There's hairs on the underside and on the top side. There we go. That gives you a much better view. So that's a view from level with it. And then if we look at this leaf, you can see down flat. You can see in between each scallopy bit that little point, that little spike. So yeah. Oh, is that a thrip? Look at that. A little black thrip. How dare it invade my parrot plant? And there's another one. Grrr. I think they're quite well hidden among the main stem of this leaf. I hadn't noticed that till just now. Sometimes doing some photography or filming of your plants really does help you get in close and spot the pests. I thought I'd give you a bit of a close-up on the woody stem as well. So yeah, it is really, really solid. It's kind of vaguely flexible, but yeah, very solid. And kind of textured and rough. It's almost like a purpley colour actually in some places. It's just the remnant of an old flower. I did phone up and check in with my local garden centre and ask if they still have any, because every time since I got one, they've still had some in the same spot. It's something that they just obviously keep ordering in, and they've kind of always been there. But to save myself a wasted trip, I did phone up this morning and just say, do you still have any? And they said that they do. So I'm going to pop over and get one. And hopefully it'll be in flower. I can show you some flowers, so we'll see about that. And yeah, I'm just gonna show you all of these three in their various states. A couple of them are rather bedraggled. So this is my one, and when I first got all of them, they were kind of about that high, and they're now like quite tall. My son's was the one that grew the fastest and the tallest. But actually, let's show you that one now as I'm thinking about it. Yeah, this one is in a very sorry state. It's so a few weeks ago, it was just a bare trunk. Everything had dropped off. I think we had neglected to water it. I should say they are very thirsty plants. They like a good drink. They don't like to dry out. They droop if they dry out, but they are forgiving. You can rescue them pretty quickly with just giving them a really good deep soak, and then they just perk right up again. But obviously they don't want to stay dried out, otherwise they would die. They're a very woody trunk, so they seem to be able to get very tall without any support. I have got a support in here, but it actually doesn't need it. It's a very thick, solid trunk. Maybe that one it was a bit. I probably put that in when it was a bit thinner, but it's really thickened out and it is very solid, it's very robust, and it's very very stable. Anyway, yes, I realised the other day that there were no leaves left on this plant, and I thought, oh my gosh, I am so sorry that I've let it get to this stage. Sometimes the plants in my son's room are a little bit underwatered. So yeah, I try to keep on top of them, but it's not the room that I go into all of the time, so I have to sort of make sure that that we've done that. Anyway, so it got to the point where it was just all like this, just bare stem all the way up, and so I gave it a big drink, and yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago, and it has just shot out lots of new growth, which I will show you, and which have then been knocked off. I don't quite know how that happened. I think it was because they were maybe hitting the top of he's got a high sleeper bed, and I think it was kind of hitting the top of that as it grew, because they've grown really ridiculously fast. So it was literally a bare stick a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it's grown these. So these are falling off. I thought I'd show you. It's put out these tall, very whippy bits. So I'm just going to break this one off as well. I was going to take them off anyway and see if I can like take cuttings from them. That should be fine. So I've now got those two, which I'll put to one side. But yeah, I'm thinking of cutting it right back, probably down to kind of a few inches, leave a few good nodes that look promising, and hopefully it will bush out sideways and kind of become just reinvigorated, and I can use the top bit for cuttings. I do have a cutting here that I took from a friend's plant. I gave her a parrot plant a few months ago, and I was visiting her yesterday, as it happens, and it had lost a lot of leaves, but it does have some growth points, a bit similar to this one. So we took the top off so that I could bring it home and propagate it, and hopefully that will get going again, and I can give that back to her either as a new separate little plant, or maybe put it back in with hers, with her existing stumpy bit. So yeah, there are lots of little nodey bits. So I'm hoping that it might put out new leaves from those points at some time soon. I will talk you more through about how I go about a parrot plant propagation shortly, properly. Just showing you the other plants that I have. So this one is my daughter's one. She loves strawberries and pink things. So there's a crazy little buglet thing there. Yeah. So this one is doing okay. It was flowering up until recently. They do put out side shoots, so if they often start losing leaves down low, you'll often get a random just single yellowing leaf just from time to time, so that just comes off, and then where that was, the little point on the stem where that was, then becomes a new, not just a new leaf, but eventually a whole new shoot. So that then comes off, has its tips, has little side bits of its own, so it bushes out from there. So all of these were a single stem plant when I got them, and where they've lost leaves, they now have all these branches. So so that's fun. It means that you get more foliage down low over time. Yeah, so I'm sorry these aren't in the best shape to show you, but I've been wanting to do this video to show you this type of plant for a while, and I thought it was probably best to show you when I've actually got things that need doing with it. And you know, it's not about being perfect, it's about, you know, meeting the plant where it is and doing what it needs, and just seeing it through and hopefully getting into a better place eventually. But I love these plants, whether they're in pristine peak condition or not. They're just a really nice plant to have. It's been really nice getting to know them and finding more out about them. Right, one more of mine to show you, which is this little propagation. I took this months ago. I think it was from my son's plant. It was a little side shoot rather than a top one, rather than a top cutting. That was many months ago, so all winter it's been sitting in this little glass jar of water, and it has so many roots. I will show you. It has a lot. Actually, they're all bunched up, but they are about like this long. They are so long. I took it out last night to give it some fresh water and to sort of just wash the roots off and freshen them up. They are so long, but they're all kind of like tangled around with each other at the moment. It's a really weird shape of stem. It's kind of curved, and I don't quite know whether that happened. I can't remember. I think it must have happened from it leaning over the pot at one stage towards the light, and it's now in that position. It does put out new growth. It's got some new little baby leaves right at the top at the moment. Oops, slop. Yeah, there's a little baby leaf there. So I'd like to get this into soil today and make it into a little independent plant of its own, and hopefully it'll then take off and yeah, really start growing upwards and put out lots more leaves, and hopefully get some more flowers, especially as we come into spring. I feel like that's more likely with all of them soon. What else was I going to say? Come on, brain. Yeah. Oh, just that I was going to talk you through how I'd taken this cutting. So I will talk you through on this one, and then I will do a cutting from one of the plants later with you. So when you take your length of stem, whether it's a side stem or from the top, you would just want to remove quite a lot of the lower leaves so that they're not in the water or in the soil, because they will rot. So you actually want to strip it down to just the top few. So leave like maybe a couple of pairs of leaves, and it looks really sort of naked and terrible, but that's actually going to really focus the plant into putting out roots. If it's got too many leaves, then it will just focus on those, and it's not so successful, and it's making the plant work harder. But giving them enough leaves to sustain the plant, but not too many to sort of take the energy away from putting out the roots. So yeah, this one started to root quite quickly. I do feel like they are a really quick propagation to happen, but much more so in the summer. So this one was slower to start off than the other one that I took originally, but it was a very different season, much colder, much less light, but it still did it. It just took longer. But once it started rooting, it's just been very quick to then keep growing those roots. You can see it stretching out a bit now. So yeah, that one's ready to go into a little pot later. I've just realised how wonky we are. I'm so sorry. There we go. Yeah, the substrate, I'm using just normal houseplant compost, and then I'm adding a bit of perlite, not too much. They do like well draining soil. They don't want to sit in a really boggy compost, but they do like to retain a bit of moisture. Like I said, they are a very thirsty plant, and they just really suck it up quickly. When you give them a drink, it just disappears, and then they do want another drink sort of quite soon. So it's really just keeping an eye on them. If they're, it's not about how often you water them exactly as a schedule. It's just about looking at your individual plant, just looking at the soil and feeling the soil. And if it feels dry, give it a drink, because it will be really, really happy about that. All houses are going to have slightly different conditions with lighting and warmth and things like that. So I do find that in this bright house, plants do dry out quite quickly. The soil dries out quite quickly in our house, for most plants. So yeah, just go with what is right in your home, but yeah, make sure that the water can drain away and that it can hold on to some moisture basically, and just give them regular drinks. So you've now seen all my parrot plants in their kind of less than perfect state. I'm now going to go out and buy a new one, and you can see what that's like. And when I get home, I will do some potting up. So I'm going to put up this little guy, and yeah, see what we can make out of these long cuttings, and see how much I want to prune these guys. Probably quite a lot of pruning, to be honest. I'm quite happy to take them down a bit low and let them go from there. So we'll do all of that when I get back. I'm back from the garden centre. I've just had some lunch here at home, and I did not buy a parrot plant. They did have some, but they had no flowers, so I didn't really feel like it was worth adding another one to my collection, because that was the main reason to have bought another one. They're not expensive, I have found. They're usually like $3.99, which is good value for that size of plant, kind of like a nice medium-sized plant. Anyway, so I did not get one, but I did get some other very useful things while I was there, including, I thought I would just show you, including these horticultural scissors. I don't currently have, I've never had a pair of kind of for the job scissors. I've always used household kitchen scissors and things for taking cuttings, and although it's worked on the whole pretty well, it's nice to have some proper ones that are really sharp and that I can reserve just for planty stuff, so I know they'll stay good condition and not get used for cardboard or something like that, which would blunt them. I got a couple of these hanging baskets. They were reduced to $3.99 each, so I got a couple of these. So yeah, they will be really handy. I have a few more plants around the house that I want to get up to like ceiling height, so that's going to be really useful. And I think that's really good value. I also got a teeny weeny cactus. How cute is that? It's so teeny. I don't know its name. I don't know the name of most cacti. Feel free to let me know if you know. So that was $1.99. This teeny little thing. I got another one for my friend as well, because she likes succulents and cacti. I just realised I'm talking quite quietly. Sorry, I'm quite tired. I feel a bit washed out, and I often forget to project my voice. I really must get a microphone soon for you guys. Anyway, yeah, so that's that little cute guy. It's my son's birthday in a few weeks, and he's going to be 7, and yeah, I think I'll save this as a surprise for him then. And then we have a little crown of thorns, which is right here, so it is a bit hard to pick it up. I bought this because years and years ago, when I was still living at home with my parents, I bought a crown of thorns, yeah, from the same garden centre, in fact, and I didn't know what to do with it. I kept it for a little while. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful. I remember photographing it on a film camera on my old manual SLR and finding it really gorgeous. I wonder if I still have those photos anywhere. Anyway, yeah, I found it really beautiful. I did not know anything about any houseplants at all. I'd never seen one or heard of one before. I haven't really seen them since. That was like 20 years ago. I haven't really run into one since then, and I've been thinking about them a lot lately. I was sort of reminiscing to just quietly to myself about them and thinking, oh, I remember that. I wonder if I'll ever see one again, and I just have. So I bought this. It was $2.99. I actually bought another one, slightly varying. They had sort of different colours. They had a more reddish orange one as well. The pink one I think will be lovely for my daughter because she loves pink. But yeah, quite different leaf colour. It's hard for me to tell how healthy this is because I don't know if this is what the plant normally looks like. It's almost a little bit mottled on the leaves. I don't know if that's a type of variegation or whether it's a sign of something not quite right. To me, it looks like it's just not quite there with health, but I might be wrong because apart from that patterning, the plant looks really good. Like there are lots and lots of flowers. I can see new little buds in there. So maybe it's not a problem. Anyway, gonna enjoy trying to look after that one. And this one has more, there's darker leaves and then quite sort of maroon leaves underneath. Whereas the other one's green through and through. You can see the difference there. So yeah, so that's those. So that's quite fun. And then last of all, type of peperomia, which I think is called fire sparks. I don't remember its proper name. So yeah, it was $1.99. I actually got 2 of them because they were just really, really good condition and really small and cute. So they look like little green pasties. So I had one of these quite a few months ago, sometime last year, and then over Christmas, as I've said before, when I left a few tiny plants in my little workroom, which I just didn't really have time to go into that room. I didn't have the luxury of a lot of spare time being the Christmas holidays, and I ended up just not watering the plants in there, and because they were in such tiny little pots, they dried out so quickly, and I lost them, including one of these. This one actually looks better than that one. It looks, I don't know, looks just really, really clean and healthy. And the other one's the same. How cute is that? There's a nice, good close-up view for you. It just looks so healthy and so, I love the colour of this. It's just such a nice kind of verdant green. And if you look at the little kind of gully down the centre of each leaf, so that's not a crack or even much of a groove, but it's like a translucent window into the middle of it, so they are really solid and they're very, very succulent. So that's yeah, that's what I bought. So it was not a wasted trip, even though I didn't buy another parrot plant. So I'm sorry I can't show you some parrot plant flowers currently right now in person here, but yeah, I have photos to share with you, so that's cool. So you'll get to see what they're like. Parrot plants come from a genus called Impatiens, so it's Impatiens Niamniamensis or Niamniamensis, also known as a Congo cockatoo plant or a parrot impatiens, but yeah, I've always known it as a parrot plant, just because of the flowers, obviously. And in warmer countries, it can be grown. It can be grown outside as a garden plant. Obviously, if you don't encounter frost in your country, then you can just keep it outside all year round. It likes warmth. I would say it enjoys having brighter light, and it does grow faster in brighter light. But it does tolerate and thrive in partial shade. So where it comes from, it would be kind of in the shadier, kind of moister areas. And I just spotted another thrip. Grr. And yeah, so it does really well in shade, and I think as long as it's getting enough enough light, so I wouldn't put it in the deepest, darkest part of your home, but equally maybe not the most sunny, hot, direct sun windowsill. I have got mine on a windowsill, but as the windowsill that it's on has got, we've for privacy at the front of the house, we've like stuck on a sheet of kind of frosty stuff, and so that does just filter the sunlight a little bit, enough that it doesn't sort of scorch it, so I think it's all good. If you want your plant to be generally smaller or bushier, you can prune it down quite low, prune it back really hard, so down to kind of like this height, and then it'll be a much wider, bushier plant and put out new growth sideways instead of trying to tower up to the sky. So I'm gonna try that in a minute with maybe a couple of these. And you can just take out the top shoot, so the kind of growing tips right at the top, you can just take out that top bit, and that will kind of cause it to open out more at the top. So it just depends what you're looking for about your shape of plant, what you prefer, and what space you have, I guess, whether you've got a space for a taller plant. Okay, yeah, repotting. So I'm going to crack on now with some potting up type of stuff. I'm going to start with the little rooted cutting. I'm going to give it a pot that I would normally give to a bigger plant, but because they do like because they are so thirsty and they grow so fast and they fill up the pot with roots so quickly, I'm going to go with this size, so that I don't have to repot it in a few short weeks. I'm just going to grab my soil. So this is my houseplant soil with perlite in, and I'm gonna just get a wider angle for you. There we go. Now you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put the pot in the bowl of compost, which is what I normally do, just find it a bit easier. I think I will get a cutting mat. Now I've organised my planty supplies, I feel like a cutting mat would just be much easier, so I don't have to do so much sweeping up after every repotting session. But for now, this is good. I'm just filling up the pot a little way. Actually, I'm going to take out some of that because this is such a long lot of roots. There we go. So it's just a little bit of substrate in the bottom, and I'm just going to let it dangle in and kind of twist the pot around to kind of coil it in there so it's not all lumped in one little corner. And then I'm just going to support it between a couple of fingers at the height that I want it, because it's such a weird shape. It's like a little letter J. So because of that, it's going to have to sit fairly low in the pot to get these upper ends of the roots at the tip of the cutting there where I cut it off. That needs to be under the soil, but then I don't want this under the soil. I don't want the leaves under the soil. So I'm just going to hold it.
So that clip magically disappeared or did not get filmed in the first place, but basically I just held it in place and filled it in with soil, and there we go, then gave it a drink, and onwards.
I'm going to move on to the bigger ones now. I have been weighing up whether I would like to pot them all together. This one needs a repot, that's my one, and I'm just going to check out the roots of my son's one. This is the one that has had the big leaf drop. Yeah, its roots have reached the bottom of the pot, but I wouldn't say it's crying out for. I need to empty out some water. I wouldn't say it's crying out for a repot. That one's probably fine as it is, and it's recovering from the thrips. The thrips are all clear, but oh, there's a thrip. Oh my gosh, there's two on one leaf. Oh my gosh, and another one there. This is all highly vexing. I'll be giving all of these a good wash down and doing some horticultural soap. I have just got some predatory mites for thrips, so I'll hang up one of the sachets with these now after this. With this one, I think I'm going to give it a big prune down to the last few inches and see if it will bush out and just start almost from scratch with it and take some cuttings. I'll do that in a minute, and meanwhile these are the two that I think I want to pot together, and yeah, let's just check this one out underneath. Wowzers. That's a lot of roots. Look at that. So this is definitely needing a repot, and I think it'll be really nice to get both of these into a bigger pot together. So I'm going to crack on with that. Lots of nice roots there. Just going to loosen some of the tops down. Taken out quite a lot of excess soil, and it's kind of quite loose now in the middle up inside the roots. There's a lot of space, so this should squid into the pot with the other one quite nicely. Just going to park that for a moment. Let's see how I managed to get this one with all the roots out. So as you saw, that is a bit of a cram. I feel like actually they should both fit in this pot. It's a lot bigger than the ones they were in. You can see. Well, actually, it seemed a lot bigger than the ones they were in, but I guess not as much as I thought. I feel like those root balls should fit in this pot, but they're both. It's like two round things next to each other, but there is enough space in the pot for that amount of roots, but just not in that shape. So I'm just going to see if I can kind of get that root ball to kind of slim down without actually losing the roots. First I'm going to put some compost in the bottom. I am making such a mess today. I've decided to just abandon it as a messy task. It's just, that's what it is. Right, see if I can kind of get some soil loose from the side of the root ball, and then effectively have more like two semicircles instead of two circles, and then they should be able to sit side by side. That's what I'm hoping. If not, I'll have to go in search of a much bigger pot, which I do have, but I just feel like it's a bit out of proportion to the plants. It doesn't potentially really need it. So I'm just massaging the soil nice and loose, being gentle but firm. They're actually really robust roots. They're not snapping too easily when I'm trying to sort of tease them loose. They're doing pretty well. Okay, that feels like it's much slimmer, kind of like half the pot now. So I'm just going to let that sink down for a sec while I work on the other one. Actually, I think I'll take it out for a minute. Just park it over there and do the same with this one. I'm going to have a go at squeezing them both in together now. I think I want them to come up a bit higher in the pot than the soil level right now, because that's where it would sink down, and I would like them a bit higher, I think. Yeah, more like that probably. So add a bit more soil in first. Let's see if the other one will fit. If it doesn't, I think this is as much as I can really narrow them down, so I would have to get a bigger pot. I think this is okay. I was just thinking, am I going to have to repot them again really soon if this is on the snug side now? But they've got quite a lot of room beneath them with a lot of loose soil down below, so I'm going to go with it for now. Am I? I feel very indecisive. I'm just trying to save myself a big repot in the very near future, and I don't want to disturb them again soon if I don't have to. Okay, I've decided what I want to do. I'm going to go get the bigger pot from the garden, and I'm going to include number 3 parrot plant as well. Things look better in 3s than in 2s anyway, and it'll fill the pot even more, and it'll kind of mask how dreadful this one is looking until more leaves come in. But yeah, we'll just have to decide where it's going to live, because this is my son's plant, and although my daughter won't really mind that hers is either in her room or not in her room, my son might do. So yeah, we'll have to weigh out where that's going to be. But I think it'll be really nice to have all 3 together. It'll be more like a forest of them, and you know, people who have kind of warmer climates, they would just have a big bush of this. Like, it'd be really shrubby and getting quite high and big and bulky, and I think I prefer this plant all bushed out together, multiple stems, than just one single stem. It's lovely as one single stem, you know, when it's healthy and when it's flowering, but actually I like the look of it with multiple stems. So I'll go get that pot. Okay, so you can see the difference in size there. It is quite a bit bigger and a lot taller, wider and taller. I've put some pea gravel in the bottom, so that's kind of size of stone. Just because it's so tall, it's going to take up quite a lot of my potting compost otherwise, and it does mean that it's going to drain away as well, the water. Okay, let's see about getting all 3 in there. I'm going to have to zoom out, aren't I? I think that might be a planting parcel. Well, that's very exciting. I will show you that, but not right now. I need to finish this job. I'm so covered in soil. Oh, you can't really see that. I feel very soily, and oh, it's such a mess over here. But yeah, I have come further back so that you can see what's happening, because yeah, things are just getting bigger and bigger. So right, big pot up to about there, maybe a couple of inches or so of pea gravel, and then I'm filling up with compost. I'm going to get these guys in there now. Yeah, they need a bit more, needs a bit more height. I'm going to have to mix up some more soil in a minute. I even count on my fingers. That's 2 of them. Let's unpot the 3rd one and see how that's looking. There we go. Right, it's time to fill in. This is going to be so lovely. It's a real forest of parrot plant stems. It's really nice. I will have to think about where this is going to go, and I don't have a big cover pot for it, I don't think, unless I can scrounge one from the garden. There is one I could use, but it is quite stout compared to this pot. And it's got a big hole in the bottom, which wouldn't really do. So I might just have to like put it in a pasta bowl for now or something, just so it's got a dish at the bottom. Okay, I think it's still going to need a tiny bit more soil, so I'm just going to go mix some perlite in with the soil. Weighs a ton. Oh, that looks really nice though. Okay, I guess now I need to decide if I'm gonna prune the really woody one. I think I'm just going to take a little bit off the top. I was going to do that really big prune, but now that it's here with these two, it's nice to keep them a similar height. And it does have, I'm going to bring you round. Yeah, it does have these side bits which are going to catch up in height as well. And one here. That's quite interesting. You can see the process of woodification. It's got a really green bit at the top, and then it's really brown and getting more sturdy. Yeah, so I think I'll probably just take it off to maybe about there. So take a couple of inches off the top and then get this into some water. I could put it straight into soil, but I do quite like watching the roots so that I can make sure, see how it's doing and watch its progress. So yeah, I'll take that off and I'll put it into some water. In fact, I could do that right now and use my new little scissors. Here we go. Oh, that is so soft. I'm just going to steady it with my finger at the top. Wow, that was very easy. So that's what I've got. We'll go and find a little pot to put that in, a little glass jar. I am finding as I get older that I am getting more and more clumsy. I drop things all the time. Let's have a little rummage. What would be good? Maybe this little one. I love this little jar. I don't have the lid anymore, which is a shame, but it's very cute for propagations. Yeah, I think that'll be good. It's got some nodes that can be underwater and plenty that can be above water. So watch this space to see how well that roots, and yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. So here it is, the finished kind of bushy plant. Hopefully it'll bed in and settle in and just be comfortable and keep on growing and hopefully flower soon. You saw those tiny little buds earlier, so they'll be coming along. I'll keep you updated on how that's doing, and I'll show you some new flowers, either on Instagram or part of a video on here sometime soon. Hopefully that will happen soon. With spring coming along, I think it's just probably in our country, maybe they don't always all flower all year round. They are capable of flowering continuously year round, but I guess, colder country in England. And I do feel better about the fact that mine aren't in flower, for the fact that the ones in the garden centre aren't either. But yeah, all looking quite promising. And that just leaves me really with these little floppy bits that kind of fell off the stumpy one earlier. They're very green and sort of soft and whippy. So I don't know how well they'll do as cuttings, but I'll talk you through how I do a cutting, and I will plant it up and we'll see how it goes. Maybe it will root. But yeah, I'll just talk you through the removal of the leaves and things like that. I've just had to tie my hair up out of my face. I was getting a bit of a sensory overload, what with the soil everywhere as well, and put on my headphones because I just am getting a bit overwhelmed by sound. There are lovely sounds outside with the doors open. There's been birds singing and the happy sound of lawnmowers with spring arriving. But yeah, the downside of that is that other people have their windows open too and their radios blaring, and it's just something I've always found really overwhelming. I can't shut it out, so these headphones have made everything wonderful. So yeah, on with these little cuttings. So with the cuttings, this was obviously a side shoot and it is very floppy, and I can't guarantee that this will work because I haven't worked with this kind of floppy cutting before, but we'll see. But it's the same premise, so that's why I'm going to talk you through it. Basically, you want the top kind of pairs of bigger leaves, mature leaves, so you want to have maybe probably like this pair and this pair, and there is new growth coming too. And quite often it's worth cutting the bigger leaves in half, just so that the plant isn't fighting too hard and it can focus on putting out some roots. So we'll keep some of the length of the stem, but we'll remove these lower leaves. Oops, slipping tripod coming off the table. Right, refocus. I'm being very undexterous today, but these scissors are so great. They're so sharp and lovely. Last leaf down here. So yeah, we've got quite a bit of length that we just don't need, so I think I'm going to cut it off down below this one. And because it's so whippy and succulent and young, I'm actually just going to pop it straight into water. I know with most cuttings it's good to let it callus over first, but yeah, I just feel like that might lose all the structure of the stem and I don't want it to go too floppy and not recover. But I am going to, oh, I need to remove this leaf as well. I think, oh no, yeah. Those ones I'm keeping, and this one I'm going to cut in half. And this one. There we go. So that's what I'm keeping, and that's just going to go into water. We'll see how that does. I will try it with this one. This one's actually gone really floppy, but hopefully it will enliven back in the water shortly. So I'm just going to do the same again with that. It looks like these are covered in pests, but they're not. It looks like hundreds of tiny little thrippy young thrips, but it's just the hairs in different angles look very kind of white. There we go. Yeah, it's just the hairs, I have checked. So that's going in the water too. We'll see how those go. But yeah, that is how you do a parrot plant cutting, and I've had really good success with them like this. I just haven't done it with such whippy little floppy things. So I'll let you know how those turn out. But if you want to try it yourself, that's how you can go about it. You can actually plant it straight into soil. I think that's what I did with my first ever parrot plant cutting, and it took really well. Obviously I couldn't see the progress, but I got to see the new growth, and I did then check the roots later, and I know that it was, became really well established. But if you're someone that likes to watch the rooting process, then water's great for that. It's just your personal preference, really. The bonus is that you don't then have to repot it later. Obviously, if you've put it straight into soil, you don't have to repot it later when it's got established roots. So yeah, I like both ways, but I think particularly to show you guys whether this works or not, I'm gonna keep it in the water for a bit and see how we do, and I'll have the other ones as well. My friend's top piece of her plant, and the one that I just took with you, and then the little rooted cutting, which is all potted up. So there we go. That's kind of everything I wanted to show you with my parrot plants today. There were a couple of extra things on my list to tell you. One is that they do attract aphids. I have managed to get rid of aphids on them at last, just with lots of horticultural soap spray, and just kind of being fairly vigilant with that. They have been right by a window, so they've obviously come in from the garden, and they really like the kind of, I don't know, the kind of lushness of the young growth on the tops of the parrot plants, and they have been quite quite persistent, and that does take the plant down quite quickly. But yeah, I've just been keeping on top of that, so that's something to be aware of. Obviously all of mine have been dealing with thrips, even the little cutting. It's quite annoying, but I do have thrips on other plants, and I've just started with predatory mites again, because it's been just really they've just been quite persistent this winter, the thrips here, and I'm just a bit fed up of them, and I don't really feel like I've got the time and energy to constantly be showering down and spraying down all of my plants. So yeah, I'm really hoping that that will help, and I'll let you know generally how my plants are doing anyway in future videos about predatory mites and whether they've been helping. On another note, I wanted to, oh yeah, I think the last thing I wanted to tell you about was the seed capsules for parrot plants. I'm going to see if I can dig out a photo from a while ago, because none of mine have flowers on, so none of them have seeds on, but it's something I really want to explore actually. So I've googled quite a few separate times about parrot plants and how to germinate seeds, and there's not really anything there that I can find. So if you guys happen to know, please do share. I'd love to try this again. Once these ones are flowering again and I get some more seed pods, I would love to have another go at trying to pot some up, but I don't really know what they need. And yeah, I just don't know enough about them to know if I wasn't even sure if I actually had the seeds or whether it was just part of the flower, like the stamens, because they're all quite lush. But yeah, basically they're little explosive capsules, a bit like if you've ever been to the river here in Britain and played with is it Indian balsam or is it the other one? I think it's Indian balsam, the one that has like purpley pink flowers, quite tall, along the sides of rivers and streams. And yeah, the seeds of those, you touch them and they just go pow, like just the impact, just the tiny little impact of you touching them. If they're ripe, they will just suddenly just explode, and it's really fun with kids to show them that as well, and for me. But every single time I do it, it makes me jump. Like I'm expecting it, I know it's going to happen, but still it's so sudden that every time I'm just like, whoa. My son finds it hilarious. Yeah, a friend showed me that a few years ago, and I just think it's magic. But yeah, these are the same. Like you touch, if they're ripe, you touch them, and they just, in a slightly different action, they kind of become a sudden coil. So they're kind of like this long little pod, not that long, but they're like a narrow pod, and then they once they explode, they kind of whip back on themselves like a little coil shape. So that's quite fun. So I just wanted to tell you about that because it's really interesting. But yeah, that's something I'm going to explore more. So when I have some to play with and explore with, I will talk you through that and show you what I've done. But if you know anything about the seeds of parrot plants, please share in the comments and tell us all about it. I feel like I don't know many people with parrot plants. The only people I know with parrot plants are the people that I've given one to, either from my own cuttings or because I think they're so cool that I've gone out and bought one for a friend. I've done that with a couple of friends. And yeah, they are really fun. So I feel like I don't have that many people to talk to about parrot plants, which is part of the reason for sharing it on here. I know there was one of you who was really fascinated by these plants and has been curious about this for a while. So I'm sorry it's taken me so long to make this video. There have just been so many other things that have kind of pushed in front of it. And because I knew it was a video that could wait, it wasn't sort of urgent, although it was very much in my brain and keenness to make it. There were just other things that kept squidging in front of it in the queue. But yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for coming along and having a look, and do feel free to add your comments and your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and like and share and follow and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.